Okay, we're going to go into part two of this guy who's a nobody really, but he thinks that he is, and he's a real threat. Um, but I just don't take crap off anybody, and it just shows you patheticness and what people think. And of course, he tried to outright attack me without even looking into what even I know. He just jumped on and wee. And sadly, this is actually the most mild, I think, of my videos, because I told you that Jabari dude that does the videos that we're doing a debunk on about the demographics of North Africa and whether they were white or Arab and stuff, that I did a two-part in that shows clearly that their demographic has grown extremely in the amount of Negroids that have come in there, and that the current look of it is exaggerated from the way it was before, and then it becomes minute at the point of the Islamic slave trade and when they had started them in, and blacks aren't the endemic population of North Africa for its Caucasians. And he's going to have an extreme problem with every time I say Caucasian of thinking that I'm talking about a Nordic or something. But we'll be able to look at things, and I'm not going to go too deep into genetics and stuff and do a cookie cutter on him there. It's just going to be more kind of raw. And this is really one for my guys, for you've seen all the videos that have come out and all the genetic stuff, and most of y'all are familiar with 7 Phoenician 7, and she's in the process of revealing the genetic admix in all of the Negroids that are there now. But we easily know that they weren't all there before, and the only ones the Egyptians were really running into were these Nubians, which were considered vile Nubian troglodytes, and they weren't endemic to the area, for they say they showed up out of nowhere in the earliest of dynasties and then got killed off. And scientists record that after looking at it, they don't have any records of seeing them again for over 400 years. Then they show up again. But in the genetics and the look of the dead bodies that they had found out in the desert, these are different. And they even talk about proto-negroid and things like that about it, but blacks don't want to hear that either, that shows you that they weren't quite coming up. The oldest negroid skull ever found right now is 9100 BC, and that's a proto-negroid. The oldest one that they documented as being a common negroid that is exactly the same skull as you would find is 4600 BC. Well, that's what it'll say. If you just type it in there and look it up and everything, it'll show it to you. But they always want to act like they were first. Somehow they think out of Africa meant from them, and they try to say Caucasians or albino negroids and stuff. What's funny about this is he's had 144 views on this versus the meager miss on his other one, and I'm sure he's getting a lot of views now. But it's just him clicking on it over and over again and resetting it. It's kind of disgusting. No dislikes, only 7 likes, so you can tell he can't like it anymore, but he can view anymore. Simple things like that you can tell. Also, this is that dude, it seems, Scrafus Jank, which I call Scrotus Janky. He, because he can't spell with, and in here, this guy can't spell with exactly the same way, and he does it, and a few phrases are the same, and then he's the one that's on there pimping it on the other video, too. It's kind of hilarious. And no telling this is just him pimping himself in some region and everything. So, I want to clarify something before some idiot comes. I know Anatolia and Turkey are the same thing. In the video, I mean the geographical region and the political area it represents now. Oh, he's going to try to cover up this. But even in the front of it. Yeah, so he did make a mistake there. I'm going to still point it out because you're still an idiot. But they said, yeah, I'm going to make a video. He's going to make a video about you any day because you were a threat to his lies. No, it's lies, and I debunked it. And I showed you the reality of it and how it's this meager and minimalness, and not like it was all black people, and that's a lie. And Hannibal was Caucasian, and all the Carthaginians that were there, but who was there before, and who was around them, and who did the Greeks talk about, and everything. And they don't ever mention any Negroids in Libya, and the Libyans, and what they look like whenever they come to Egypt, and how pale they are, and they've got red hair and everything. And I've showed you in the last video set that red-hairedness, and I showed you blue-eyed Egyptians, pale ones from the earliest of dynasties, Ghibelline mummy, and pre-dynastic stuff showing the same thing in these Caucasians, and then making correlations, but didn't go into the genetics about Badarians and the Nakata cultures and the place from there. But 7 Phoenician 7 does a great one, that just showing genetics straight out. I do other things and talk about crap, and hell, like before genetics came out, we were all talking about pottery and symbology and things like that, and how it connects to Sumeria and all of these ancient Caucasians and farmers that had brought farming into it after the last ice age. And you know, it would have been scattered, but now we know about Göbekli Tepe, and so it starts to make other connections. For before that, we had Kamyana Mohila, and it's at 22,000 BC, and it seems like there's just too much of a gap, but that's way into the Ice Age. And a lot of people aren't correlating that when things are happening, that an Ice Age is in effect, and people are pushed down all into the Mediterranean area, Middle Earth, that's what Mediterranean means, and Caucasians were all the way around. They didn't walk to the delta of the Nile and go, I don't know, duh. But they were all around that whole area and into the Sahara. And the Green Sahara Project shows Caucasians, Gobero, and all of these other sites at I and 7 Phoenician 7. And there's a lot of information on it. We just take the information shown and present it to you. And so anyhow, he wonders what that would be like, comforting some things, whit some aisle. So here we go again. Yeah, whit. He's instead of with, he says wit. He does not. This is about the level we're dealing with, but he tries to call me an incel, and he calls all my subscribers incels. That's amazing. I've got doctors and people that know history and stuff, and they're still learning things on my site. I have people that have had degrees in history tell me that I've showed them things that they never knew and connections they never knew. And I understand that, because quite often you'll peak at a certain point in history, or you'll go all about the Greeks and you learn this whole dichotomy, but you don't realize connections that there were before, or something that you'll study, and quite often they'll go into one field. But yeah, wit, and everything, and he tries to talk crap about 7 Phoenician 7 and convince people that she knows about Egyptology and genetics and crap, and that girl goes hard, and they can't deny it, and they just cry and whine. And he tries to talk about our tears and stuff. It's pathetic, really it is. But then, so he says, you have to see this one, man. In there, a black dude gets beat all the way down to where he has nothing left, and he goes, okay, right, it's Caucasians and stuff, but at least we have admix now from you, so we was Kangs really from that. And how disgusting and funny that is. And he acts like, I don't know, I'm guessing his inference is, well, see, there we are. And that shows you their pathetic mentality. But yeah, so I just tell them, so pathetic, and you revel at a low IQ gimp. Got vids coming, and you're not a threat at all. Lame, in fact, weak. Word for word, you will fail, and by your own words, in many cases, you should have researched before you yipped. And mentally ill, because he tries to call me mentally ill somehow, and desperate, delusional, and wanting to take primitive West African sub-Saharan Negroids and put them into places they didn't even know exist, and nobody mentions them. And that's what this really about. And I don't give a damn who he thinks he is. This was what the video was about, and the debunk of that, because it was sent to me by Negrocentric Americans who were trying to claim Kangs everywhere. And he even makes fun of that and says it's a joke. So this is never going to be a boon for Negroids in any way, shape, or form, even his video himself. But then he's going to try to get you to believe that there were more blacks than white, and it was a mix, and all these other things that he tries to pull off. And man, you know, I've realized whenever I do videos, sometimes I stop it way too often. And it's because after he says this, I've got to say something, because he's going to keep going, and by the end of it, I'll maybe forget or start to say about what he said at the end and not have it. I go off in left field enough, right? But I realize that I dissect it too much sometimes, and he does the same thing. He literally doesn't listen to a complete sentence. He does the Negro thing, where he likes to listen to, he says, tell me the ABCs, I will listen, then I will tell you something. And you go A, B, C, D, and he just starts talking. It's disgusting. Yeah, they just try to talk over the fact. And he doesn't want to let the sentences finish, because They make complete thoughts, but he just and there's some touching moments in here, but let's go.
Okay, guys, so part 2 of this Neptunes Lagoon trying to debunk Everybody Hates Angel. So we're gonna keep watching it.
Also aren't related to Negroids at all. But I think he's going to try to make that correlation in this video, not by totally speaking it, but while he's speaking, showing video points. They do this all the time, and then blacks see that, and then they go, "We were," and it's no, you weren't, and he's not even talking about you.
And you weren't either. You are not North African. You're not related to them.
That's not the point, idiot. The point is whenever I tell that they were Caucasians and the sub-Saharan descendant Negroids that are claiming this, which this man is that made the video, idiot, that when he's claiming that isn't falsehood, and he shows pictures while he's saying certain things and phrases, and this easily deludes sub-Saharan West African primitive descendants that were in the slave trade to North America to think that they were maybe someone else, and they try to grip on anybody else but where they actually came from. This is the point. You can't get past it. I'm not saying that I'm a Caucasian Berber, but if you knew my genetics, you might shut that mouth, for you have no idea how I connect and show now that, and it's amazing how whenever I see certain videos and information on 7 Phoenician 7 and what genetics they've now figured out to hook up to who, I got that connection. And blacks don't have that connection. Not the ones that are claiming it in any way, shape, or form. And the joke is, oh, well, I've got admix from those people now, so we was kings, and it's like, that would be more pathetic if you realized that it was all debunked after all your yip, and then you tried to pull that off, and then rooster about that. That would be disgusting.
Oh.
You were West African primitives, part of the slave trade, but they don't want to have that history anymore. What they really like to do.
Yes, because the history of West Africa is not only Atlantic slave trade.
No, it's Islamic slave trade for 900 years before that. That he apparently has something to do with listening to his voice where he talked. And so I'm thinking that, yeah, he has probably more guilt on his hands than he would want to believe if you went back into it. And if he keeps this shit up, I will dig down into it, but I'd have to know his genetic background to be able to show and who he supposedly thinks he connects to.
That's something you don't even believe. West Africa, the Empire of Ghana and the Empire of Mali, that are two great empires in history.
So one was subseded and overseen by Islamics and stuff, and it's still disintegrated, and it's just ruins today and turned to crap, and so it's just a failed thing. But then Mali itself was started by Queen Tin Hannon. She's a Caucasian Berber. They have her tomb and everything. I did videos about this when Negroids are trying to claim it and everything, and I go, no, there's this whole story that goes before that, hundreds of years, and she founded Mali and stuff. Later things happened too, but all that happened because of Islamics and things that went into North Africa, and people saying that, well, Islamics, he's going to kind of tend to the idea that Islamics have always been there too, at a couple of times here. And everybody knows that that was an invasion. Invasion on what? Those Libyans and stuff that are in the ancient pictures of the Egyptians that are real pale and had red hair and stuff and tattoos all over them. And they talk about next to them are the lotophages that eat lotuses and they're sacred with them and all this kind of stuff, and diviners, and they have out at some sacred oasis a place they go and divine and do, and the da-da-da. And these people that cover that, they live out at that oasis, and because of that, they are dark, just like the workers and stuff. Are they? No, they're a Negroid. No. They would make it a point of that. They don't know what a Negroid is. They hate vile Negro troglodytes. It's a clear thing denoted, and, you know, it's going to be hilarious how I keep showing these blue-eyed Egyptians and all these Caucasians, and then Caucasian genetics eventually, and there's no denying that you be lying.
This is completely stupid what you're saying here.
Make you think.
You know, he doesn't sound very intelligent. This, and he's trying to call me stupid. You know, Pagan 150 IQ, haven't been tested in years, but versus I'm guessing might encroach on 90.
But maybe North Africa above the Sahara was all these Negroes. And most of the blacks that get on my video try to lie.
Well, they weren't Negroes, but they were still.
Now, check this out. I've got to catch this so you can hear this clear as day. So, I say they want to believe that all was above the Sahara. You can hardly hear it in my stuff, and he won't let the sentence finish. But he's going to try to say a sentence and make no sense. Now, were they Negroids or not? Well, no, they weren't. But then, here we go.
Well, they weren't Negroes, but they were still African. They were not Negroes or neither Caucasian. They are just people. Well, they weren't Negroes, but they were still African. They were not Negroes or neither Caucasian. They are just people native North Africa.
All these Negroes.
So, let's dissect this attempt at mental logic leaping. Well, they weren't Negroes. Okay, so they're definitely not sub-Saharans. Yeah, well, you can just throw that out. But they weren't Negroes, but they weren't Caucasians. So then we have Mongoloids, Orientals, and Amerindians. You don't have any choices left. So he's got that total disconnect on the fact that Caucasian means not Negro, everybody. In fact, Arabic people are those. And so that was part of my point to the whole thing is, are North Africans black, white, or Arab question? And how Arabs have an admix, but yeah, they're Caucasians and always have been. And so it always has been, and then it still was. And then because of their slave trade and in pulling out of sub-Saharan Africa, Negroids is what you see today, and it's radically different. And then look at the demographics and the growth that they've had there due to having all this new medicine and everything, and all farm aid and things that are pushed and tried to help them close, and billions of dollars has been spent. And then now they have an overpopulation and they can't sustain themselves, and they make pictures in America and little commercials where they have kids that are pot-bellied and crying and needing food and stuff, and Haiti and everything else, and black people have trouble sustaining themselves, and they overshoot their boundaries and have a hell of a lot of kids, and then have a little problem on it and just become dependent and stuff. And it's kind of disgusting, but we're going to go with, what's he say here? Watch this leap. And he tries to keep from saying that they were not whites, not pearly whites. Oh, no, Caucasians, and he can't connect.
And most of the blacks that get on my video try to lie.
Well, they weren't Negroes, but they were still African. They were not Negroes or neither Caucasian. They are just people native North African.
So native North African Caucasians like Libyans and stuff, and the Lotophages and everybody that they say, and Herodotus and other people and Strabo and people talk about, and so North Africans, Caucasians. And then even though there are Caucasians going all around like Canaanites, which actually is what the Phoenicians called themselves anyhow, the Phoenicians made other outposts around the entire Mediterranean, all around on that North Africa. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, damn straight. Right? Oh, and so what can he follow that logic leap up with? Definitely not Negroids. He had said it twice.
And some North Africans are Negroes.
What? I'm going to have to listen to that all one more time. Watch the brain try to leap.
Most of the blacks that get on my video try to lie.
Well, they weren't Negroes, but they were still African. They were not Negroes or neither Caucasian. They are just people native North African. And some North Africans are Negroes. So they are still African. They are not related to you at all.
So we can see, you hear about Forrest Gump and you thought he was stupid, but Jungle Gimp is a little more weak. That's sad. They weren't Negroes. Okay, they're Caucasian endemic North Africans, but you keep thinking Caucasian means white, so you can't make the connect. And then you go, so they were Negroes. We're watching that. We saw that. Let's continue.
If you want to talk about it, we can say they are more related with the Negroes than with Caucasians.
They're not related with the Negroes, nor the Caucasians. So he's trying to say Europeans are Caucasians and Nordics, and he can't make the connect that all those Arabs are also Caucasians. But in the first video, he said it twice, and I said it, and he kept throwing a fit about the fact, well, they're not white. And I didn't say white, I said Caucasians, and then he agrees with me, and then he throws a fit again. It's hilarious. Watch this black mentality.
Are just a little part of North Africa. Most of North Africans, like I said, are still native North Africans. So
the endemics there now are nowhere near what they were before, and it's kind of disgusting that he's going to try to pull that off.
It was always black people, and then just now, recently, the white people showed up.
Okay, guys. Before we get bored with this clown, we're gonna get this a little more. Yeah, we're gonna increase the velocity of this video because if not, we're gonna get too bored.
Okay, guys, to not get too bored with the video of this clown, and who has already been debunked and now just made sure that you know that he can't logically think correctly. He's going to speed me up as if I didn't during this video kind of speak fast and I was on the coffee. And so it's going to be real fast, but he still no let a single sentence across and try to interrupt. Negroes say, oh, what he say ABCs now? And I go, ABC, and he started interrupting. And he just said they weren't Negroids, and we're going to go.
Incredible irony of that is that it's always been a white people, and in fact, all over the whole
Blah,
world,
blah, blah. Yeah.
Caucasian people and people other than blacks until just recently. And it seems like due to their lack of accomplishment and jealousy, they try to claim a lot of lives.
Well, in history we accomplished a lot of things.
Name one. Name one good accomplished that you've done for mankind, for everything that you're doing and the computer you're on and everything. All this comes from Caucasians. Ability to use electricity. We're freaking spacemen now. All these things have happened because of Caucasians and advanced science. And if you want to claim some Arabics had some stuff going on, that's the only connective you have to that. But you're going to try to pull it to black people did something. And I swear, don't bring up Mansa Musa, because he sold off his own people and exploited elephants and ended up making a large amount of money, which he blew all at once, they'll tell you, on a pilgrimage to a Caucasian god again, because he was already up under Islam and everything, and that really is not a great story. It's like there was this Negro once who found a diamond and he blew it all to a white god.
Yeah, West Africa had the richest man in history, which is Mansa Musa.
There you go.
So, this guy is a person with a clear inferiority complex. So,
these blacks have a clear inferiority complex, and
I expect a lot of this type of arguments in this video.
I expected a lot more from this guy than broken English and said already pre-debunked lies, and then him himself telling you that they aren't Negroids and then trying to cognate Caucasian. I can't think. It really kind of shows the patheticness of these people, and oh, he gonna debunk me, huh?
But they are completely ridiculous and have no solid arguments in there.
Yep.
There is no argument in this.
Yeah.
To say
there is no argument, but they want to try, and they want to put themselves into places. West African, sub-Saharan Negroids didn't have anything to do with it, and he just told you, and then he tried to tell you they were, he didn't even say black people or something different, or like the Khoisan are different, or Nilotics. He didn't even try to pull that off. He said, oh, they're Caucasians, they aren't Negroids, they're Caucasians, but they're not white, but they're Caucasians, but so they're Negroids. You heard that.
To say that West Africa had no civilization is completely bonkers and has no.
To this day, and I can show you videos of blacks still wearing loincloths, running around, playing fart games, all kinds of nasty things people have showed. They usually do this once blacks get too cocky. They go, here's you, and they show that, and it's still on today, even though they've been exposed. Now, you could think if they've been on a desert island and no one ever knew they existed, like Senegalese, well, they've already been exposed too. Oh no! But say they never knew the Caucasian spaceman existed, how long would it be before they ended up doing the things that we're doing right now? And the answer is it wouldn't have been within their capacity, it looks like, for a long period of time. They didn't have writing or anything. They were pretty much pre-Stone Age level whenever first encountered. And blacks now are going to, oh no, we was this, we was this, we was that. And this is the disconnect and the lie in its essence.
Not any sense.
No sense to it.
We're going to see a few of them. Let's go.
Arabs or Afro-Arabs, white Arabs, mixed Arabs, multi-generation mixed Arabs, and so on and so on.
Yeah, so some of these Arabs couldn't keep their hands off their slave trade. And while they castrated the males as eunuchs, the females, that didn't happen so much. And quite often they killed the babies off of that.
Well, the Arabs enslaved not only sub-Saharan Africans, but also Slavs. They enslaved white Slavs.
This doesn't make what I say not true. In fact, it reinforces it. Stupid. Idiot on parade. That's the way that went down, and that's those admixed people that are no longer sub-Saharan Africans that are living in this area today, and they have adopted the culture. No one's adopted turning around and doing voodoo. They've went the other way, and for a reason.
Enslaved Europeans. They don't only enslaved sub-Saharan Africans. So if you want to talk about it, yes, there is a lot of mix. But it's not only a mix about sub-Saharan Africans, so Negroes, but it's also a mix about Caucasians, because there were a lot of Caucasian slaves brought in North Africa.
Yeah, actually the whole involvement with the Barbary Coast thing was an invasion of the Caucasians who were already there, and Carthaginians and the Punic Wars and things that had come before that. And if you know anything about history, you're making a fool of yourself with every word that come out your mouth. But blacks don't care about that. They're going to get at least black people to listen to this and think that they was. And it's pathetic.
You can find somebody compassionate, and so it broke out after that. And that's actually where that actually comes from. It has no bearing on anything about them being there before it all. And if you see one wearing a turban now, he's mimicking a Caucasian that wears turbans. It's not their culture. And the Bible's not their culture, Egypt's not their culture, and then the rest.
Egypt is our culture, yes, Egypt.
And now this admixed, self-proclaimed, Muslim transferred sub-Saharan Negro is going to claim Egypt is his culture. Not maybe because the Arabic people live there today and they didn't build any pyramids, and it's well known, and their expansion coming across, and the Ottoman Empire and everything that went with it, and the Crusades after. But he's going to claim we-ism was.
Has been confirmed to be Negroid under the New Kingdom, with some omission.
You mentioned the New Kingdom, and that's going to be 25th dynasty, and they came in with the Kushites as overlords and took over for a mere 72 years and then slapped that ass back of it. You can't say was'em we's off of that, and surely not the founders in any way. But I think he tries to pull off that, it was, okay, so the bottom half was always Caucasians. Okay, but the top half, we isms. Watch him try.
Under the New Kingdom, with some mixture of Caucasian, but that didn't come before the New Kingdom. So Egypt was a black civilization, at least until the end of the New Kingdom. And in the
So he tries to say that it was Negroes before the New Kingdom. And I know my people are tired of seeing this in any way, shape, or form, and they see it all the time, but we're just going to go to, hell, I was at demographics of Africa right here, and if you'll look at this picture here, yellow is Caucasians, and damn, they're saying it's overwhelmingly Caucasian. So that's about the end of even what he tries to say about that. But let's just go to google.com. And I'm going to look up something other than blue-eyed Egyptians now. I want to look up early reserve heads. Yeah, I'm going to try to make this a two-parter out of it because I want to do enough of this that I'm not showing the same thing and therefore compounding on the idea of no, 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 and no. So the early reserve heads of these Caucasian Egyptians look like this. And this is from the 4th dynasty, if I'm not mistaken, but it's within the first few. It's 3rd to 6th, they find most of these. And I'm going to tell you now before we find it. I don't know where it is. There's one that Negroids like to claim, and after all these years, they figured out, well, if this one's this one and that one, then this is the girl. So it's not even a male, but it's a female. So these reserve heads, and we can see what they look like, and they're Caucasians. And there's the girl one. And so what they do is they say, we was, and it's like, well, here's your family. Yep, there's the close-up of the girl one. So that's a girl one. And then these Caucasoids. And no, we're not going to look at Olmecs. See, blacks get everything attached to certain things so they can say, oh, lookies, wilkies, oh, lookies, lookies. Here, yeah, there it is. So there's the girl one. And so you can imagine that with long hair, and that's not a Negroid. Yeah, and sub-Saharan Africans don't look like that at all. But there's a funny one I've got where they show this character right here, and he's been done up, and it's so revealing also. So, but gotta throw it in there. Let's go with blonde Egyptians. And this doesn't in any way, none of them have Negroid hair, but they're blonde and rare-haired Egyptians, and they're mummies, and they go, oh, look, they're black. And, you know, everybody turns to a beef jerky color whenever they get put through that natron process, but he's blonde. He's blonde. Oh, they got henna on their hair. Yeah, they're blonde added henna. They look under, they take a few of them, they look under a microscope. How about Yuya? People think that he might be biblical Joseph, blonde-haired. Yeah, this is Caucasian Egyptians. Ancient Egyptians found with red and blonde hair. They're even on the wall in portraits, which is neat. This is a yellowish color, yellow ochre, with red ochre lines on it, and from a distance it looks orange. When you get up close, it's lines. I did a whole video about that and other ones, but you can see that. And so blacks want to show a picture of a Negro, got blonde hair, who knows if they bleached it or what. Or even sadly, they try to show this emaciated looking Beja type and say, look, we is looking like emaciated. And it's pathetic, because look at that Caucasian hair. Oh, she's a Negro. No. She doesn't have any genetics that hook up to Negroids. That doesn't work. It's a lie. Look at that blonde, curly hair. He looks like a Greek man, even got a hook nose. Yep, lie. Oh, they don't look like, oh, you know everything and the scientists are stupid. How about that mummy there? Huh? Blonde curly hair. How about this one? How about this one that looks like that singer from the English band with curly fucking blonde hair? No, you're not gonna, Gimp, you're gonna limp. Here's one from my videos. This is the opening shot of my videos where it shows the blue-eyed crystal eyes. I've got too much videos for you to overcome. No yipping will ever do. Here he's taking some red hair. They got it analyzed again and again. It showed. Here's a whole necropolis, and they have blonde and red-haired mummies separated from each other. Thousands and thousands of them. And blacks say, oh, that was later. And yeah, they're digging through it, and a lot of it's later. Does that mean anything? Blacks try to say, she's Queen Ty, got an afro, and she's a pissed off black lady. That's you, Wood, and it's the color of pine, just like your fence, brand new. And boy, that's pale, but that's a silver veil. And they do a CAT scan on it, and she's wearing a little pharaoh headdress up below that. And that's not no fro, because there's her dead body. And Caucasian features, and auburn hair naturally, wow. And so, whenever you say an Egyptian looks more like this is much more correct. And, God knows what's coming up. Cleopatra, done by Elizabeth, much more correct looking than any Negroid depiction would ever be. And so, even recreations show you he's a Caucasian, and blacks are, oh no, West Africans were isms, and it's pathetic, gone quite past it. Here's Thuya, great grandmother of Tutankhamun. She has that Abe Lincoln look. So, I'm sorry that you can't change history to what you whine about now, but this is not going to ever change. And blacks weren't Egyptians. In fact, they're very much more Caucasoid, and their genetics that they're testing with them is proving the fact that they come from earlier Proto-European hunter-gatherers and farmers, and European Anatolians into there with endemics that are already Caucasians.
North, there was Caucasian admixture always of white people.
Oh man, I gotta back that up just 10 seconds, 5 seconds. So this is where he says that Egypt was always white people down in the low part, but blacks, maybe I'm gonna try to, maybe mulatto, please?
Admixture always of white people. If you can, has been confirmed to be Negroid under the New Kingdom, with some admixture of Caucasian, but that didn't come before the New Kingdom. So Egypt was a black civilization, at least.
Nope.
Until the end of the New Kingdom.
Nope, from the origin all the way through, and the only time that Negroids ever got allowed into there was by an assault, and it only lasted 72 years, and they were kicked back out by Akkadians, and they didn't actually take over, but they took an Egyptian and put him back in place, but it was too late. Egypt began its fall, and it's known as the illegitimate dynasty, but whatever you want to yip about, you admit it right here and say at least half of it was Caucasians.
And in the north, there was Caucasian admixture always.
Always.
Of white people.
White people.
If you can call it like that, because.
And so I don't even try to go, yeah, Caucasians, but not white people. I just go ahead and tell you, yes, white people. That's amazing. The flip-flop that you've done in your own videos, but let's go somersaulting again in that grand clown suit. What else?
The Caucasians that live in Egypt are not related to you at all. They are just another type of Caucasians. They were same as.
My haplogroup shows up in ancient Egyptian mummies. And I thought that was weird as hell whenever I found it out, because whenever I look at the demographics, it doesn't show that. Somehow they don't have that information in there. What they do have is I end up being from Europe and England, I'm Irish and Welsh and stuff off of it, but then I've got 12% North African and da-da-da, and how much Negroid? 0. Some people, they try to put 1% on to make them feel like, hey, or you might have gotten something from somebody, 1% isn't it? But no, don't have that either. Isn't that amazing?
There were people from Anatolia, there were people from Turkey, that is not related to you at all, because they are Indo-Europeans with another Afro.
There are people from Anatolia, there are people from Turkey. Turkey is Anatolia, and I don't know what I'm talking about. I say it down in the things because I catch myself later, and I don't know how to edit myself out, and I should have just made this a blank video and never even started, for I don't know what I'm talking about.
Group, and they are not related to you at all. You have a mutation. you Caucasoids have a mutation that happened in really recent times. So it's laughable how this Caucasoid tries to steal our history.
By the way, that was real broken, shitty English, and him trying to say that I was a recent mutation, and that blacks who are proto-Negroid after 4600, oldest skull ever found to date, 9100 BC, but yet I, even going back to Cro-Magnon, being still extant today, meaning it still exists, and its haplogroups and genetics that they found and everything, and so it has at least a 40,000 year gap, it seems, but no. And he's going to mention how in East Africa there was life, and then that they went out of Africa and they did these things and came in and out, and all of that's talking about Caucasians, of course, and the influx that happened. Sub-Saharan weren't involved with that. They want to try to be involved in everything, and when it goes back, they really weren't involved with anything. They were separated as Aborigines were in Australia.
The world, of course, it's not their culture either, but they want to claim it jealously. Let's go.
Also, not all North Africans.
You're the one that is trying to claim our history jealously, because of course you don't have one, or
Caucasians have one. We have a rich history. We've led and heralded mankind. We're spacemen now. We can fly Zoom. We pretty much prop up these countries, and every bit of technology that they got is pretty much come from out of Caucasian and Caucasian derivatives. And if you took something nowadays and found a new plug for something, that's a new plug for what? For a Caucasian device that's derived from Caucasian things. And it's never going to change because history is already written. And it's pathetic for you to try to say that we somehow have an inferiority complex towards sub-Saharan Negroids. That's hilariously disgusting and yet pitiful.
at least you don't have an ancient one to be proud of, so you try to steal our history.
No, as seen in many of my videos, we actually have a Sumerian, Greek, Egyptian, North African, Mediterranean, European, Proto-European, Scythian, edging into North America before even the Clovis family, and what was all known, the known world, and how their influx into different populations has changed those populations, herald mankind, and led the world, and do it to this day. And jealous inferior complex idiots say the most foolish things in broken English, in bad videos, trying to debunk people that are undeniable.
So other than it not being a race, it's also not correct to identify different groups of people from around 7 or more or so countries as one.
Caucasians, everywhere you see is Caucasian ancient lands, and it goes deeper for whenever they find Gobero that's here in the Green Sahara Project, that it's Caucasians that were in the Sahara when it was green.
Yeah, everything everybody, it's Angel here is he's saying it's absolutely correct.
Absolutely correct, except he's timelining it wrong, and he's trying to act like they were there then, that the amount of Negroids now is somehow then, and demographics from just 20 years ago shows you that's a lie.